What's going on, Detroit Lions fans? Welcome to the Den, the Detroit Den. Steve, I'm going to be talking some Detroit Lions football. If you're new here, you know what to do. I was sitting at work today, and I was kind of reminiscing about a player that I know some people are talking about him, but I don't think people are talking about him enough. I think he's going to go down as one of the most influential players that we're going to have on this team in 2024, and that's Carlton Davis. And what he reminds me of, if you're old enough to remember the old school going to work Pistons, and I remember a little bit of the bad boy Pistons too. I was a little young, but I do remember the going to work Pistons very well. In 2002, 2003, the Detroit Pistons went to the Eastern Conference Finals. They lost to the New Jersey Nets, who had a stacked team. Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson. I almost said Justin Jefferson. I'm just locked into football. Kenyon Martin, like they had a squad. But the Pistons had to beat some teams to get there. We had to beat Orlando with Tracy McGrady in his prime, Philadelphia with Allen Iverson. Get to the Eastern Conference Finals, we lose, and the Lakers go on to win the NBA Finals that season. Kind of reminds me of the Detroit Lions, getting really close to the big dance, losing to San Francisco, a team that was loaded. Kind of tying it together here with the next season, the Detroit Pistons went out and they traded for a guy by the name of Rasheed Wallace, one of my all-time favorite Pistons. His attitude, the energy he brought, kind of reminds me a little bit of Carlton Davis. And I have used this comparison before. I'm not going to lie. I said the same thing last year with CJ Gardner-Johnson. Carlton Davis is just one of those players that he talks a lot. He talks a lot of trash, talks a lot. He's very confident in himself. I love it. I love the energy. Got to show up on the football field too, though. That's what Rasheed Wallace did. Like, he would talk that shit and he would go out and back it up on the court. I need to see Carlton Davis do that. And I think comparing him to Rasheed Wallace is hopeful that we're going to win this Super Bowl. And we're going to be thinking, dang, hey, maybe that Steve Perkins guy knew something. Maybe Carlton Davis is that guy that can go out and lock down number one receivers. And I think he is. I think that Rasheed Wallace was absolutely pivotal on that team. And I'm not trying to turn this into a Pistons episode because basketball is not exactly my forte, but I do remember some things. Carlton Davis, if he can be that guy that he talks about, being that lockdown corner, being that guy that goes out there and takes away a team's number one receiver like a Justin Jefferson that I accidentally kind of mentioned earlier, this defense is going to be stacked. This defense is going to be hard to score against. If you guys don't remember, when we traded for Carlton Davis, we brought up about Jamar Chase from the Cincinnati Bengals, one of the league's best receivers. He was asked in an interview, who's one of the toughest defensive backs / corners you've gone against. One of the names that came out of his mouth is Carlton Davis. Like, we got that guy. We got that type of guy that is going to go out, lock down one half of the field. Terrion Arnold on the other side is doing the same thing. Our secondary is going to be a problem. And I got an episode planned for our defensive line coming up that I don't want to spoil too much. I don't want to keep hammering defense. I'm trying to really just focus on Carlton Davis in this episode. But I think if Carlton Davis is that guy, like, how far do we go? Is he the Rasheed Wallace that the Detroit Pistons needed? Do the Detroit Lions need that shutdown corner? Because last year we didn't have it. We were really hoping that Cam Sutton was going to be that guy. He wasn't. He got exposed late in the season. And I'm always going to say this when I talk about Cam Sutton. He was good for a little bit. Like, you guys can say what you want, but the first 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 games of the year, we didn't have to talk about Cam Sutton, and that's a good thing. He was just showing up, playing football, wasn't giving up any monster big plays. But yeah, toward the end of the year, I'll say it, he was a liability. But I'll give him credit where credit was due. Like, Cam Sutton was good for us, but I've always also said that Cam Sutton was more fixed for that cornerback 2 role, maybe even 3. I don't think he was a true number 1. I never did from day one, but I give flowers when they're needed. Cam Sutton, we're upgraded here from with Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold. Our 2 corners are going to be fun to watch in training camp. Speaking of training camp, I forgot to say this in the beginning. It's July. Training camp starts here in just a few weeks. So the rookies report on the 20th, and the vets will report on the 23rd. So we are officially, in my opinion, this is football month. Like, we're going to have some pads on. We're going to have some competition. We're going to have some guys going out there and fighting, and I can't wait for it. So it's officially July, officially football season in my book. So I will be watching Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold. And I will say this also. I think Carlton Davis is better suited for an Aaron Glenn type defense. In Tampa Bay, they ran a lot of cover 3 zone coverage, and that's just not Carlton Davis's strength. Aaron Glenn wants to do man press coverage. That's where Carlton Davis absolutely thrives. Like, we got a guy here with Super Bowl champion caliber talent. Like, he was a number one corner on a team that won a Super Bowl against the best quarterback in the league right now, Patrick Mahomes. So that says something. Just thinking off the top of my head, like, we got some guys that have been to a Super Bowl, but to my knowledge, I don't think anyone besides Carlton Davis has won a Super Bowl. Like, I know Jared Goff's been there, obviously, DJ Reader. Off the top of my head, I don't think we have anyone else on our team that's been there. Like, this is a young team that's going to look to Carlton Davis for some guidance in these big games, because I'll tell you right now, rewatching that NFC Championship game a couple weeks ago, we kind of look like some deer in the headlights. We had a very young team that didn't really know what to do in some moments when the floodgates opened in San Francisco. And Carlton Davis, I feel like he's going to be that guy that says, hey, time out. Let's take a deep breath. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get back to playing Detroit Lions football. So I think Carlton Davis, his mentorship, his championship experience is going to come in clutch. We're not going to see that on the football field in person. It's just something that's going to have to happen in the locker room. We just got to trust that it's going to happen. I can see CD being a borderline captain for this defense. I don't know if he's going to overplace Alex Anzalone per se, but we could have more than one defensive captain. So Aaron Glenn finally getting his guy, someone who can come in and play some man coverage, is going to be huge, man. I can't wait to see it. I'm just excited for football, man. Like I said, Carlton Davis, kind of comparing him to that Rasheed Wallace. If you guys understand the reference, maybe I tied it together nicely. Maybe it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Leave it in the comments. Let me know how you feel, guys. I'll be back later with another show.